Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you all to today's guest. We have Anna. I'm going to mispronounce, but I'm going to do my best. Kahente Gustafson. I think I got it. Even though the Kahente is with the K spelling, it's the G sound. So I think I got it there. But excited to introduce you all to her. We discovered each other on Instagram not too long ago, and I just was really impressed and just inspired by her uplifting message that she was sharing with the people that she was connecting with, and I could tell immediately that we'd have a fun conversation, and here we are sharing it with you. So without further ado, for me, I want to introduce you guys to Anna. Anna runs a business called Karmic Essentials, which is awesome, and the way she described it to me, I love it. She's combining all of the things that she's super passionate about and just leaving space for it to continue to evolve. And I'll let her share with you what that means here in a second. But without further ado, for me, I want to introduce you guys to Anna. And Anna, if you could share with the audience who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Hi, thank you, Noel, so much. Again, thank you for inviting me on, and thank you for everything that you do. So just real quick, as quick as possible, my business is called Karmic Essentials. I am a level 2 Reiki practitioner, aspiring to become a Reiki master. I am an artist. Right now I create visual art with, primarily my medium is acrylic, but I'm exploring other media as well. I am also a henna tattoo artist. Have some fresh henna here on my hand. If you're watching the video, you can see. This is the stain after it was just, I did it last night, so it's still pretty light. What else? I do everything. I do all the things. I do crystal healing. I do sacred sound healing. I do energetic cleansing. I do workshops. I'm working on developing a cacao ceremony workshop and a workshop called Painting with Intention. And I just kind of left things open-ended so that as I become passionate about other things, I can incorporate them into, like, we were talking earlier about human design. I'm becoming more and more passionate about that every day, and that may be something that I can add to my list as I become more knowledgeable about it. I'm also developing my intuitive tarot reading skills and offer oracle readings, and just all the stuff that's all super spiritual, high vibe, woo-woo, whatever you want to call it, hippie chick stuff.
I was just gonna say, not the hippie chick part. That's funny. I like how you described that. But I was gonna say everything that entails just high vibe and raising our frequency. And I can already tell now we're gonna have a really fun conversation because we're gonna let this flow wherever it goes. And that's awesome. Everything that you mentioned, I'm not only curious about, also inspired by, and love seeing people out there that are using it as a way to not only enjoy life, the moments of life, but also to raise their frequency and their vibration and flow their light out. So we're going to have a fun conversation now for sure.
Definitely. I want to share with you, I hinted at it earlier, but I want to share with you my synchronicity story that involves you. So,
love it.
So, okay. So on Saturday, my boyfriend and I, we went to a show locally here, just like a concert. And at the end, we went to our friend's house for a little after party. It wasn't really a party; it was just a gathering, and we were jamming. And a girlfriend was there, and she was like, I sensed that she needed to talk, and I asked her what she was up to. And she just told me everything. And it was just everything in her life was going wrong. And I happened to bring my human design book with me. So I said, let's look at your chart. So we looked at her chart, and I literally, I would tell her a little bit. I would read her one section, and then she would talk for 10 minutes, and then we would read the next section, and it literally just reiterated everything she just said. And it just kept going like that. And I was so in the moment with her. And then I also did a tarot reading with her afterwards, which was beautiful and on point and exactly what she needed to hear. And it was just like a right place at the right time sort of thing. And she just, I didn't even kind of didn't want to go to the after party. I just wanted to go home and go to bed. But something told me like, yeah, we should just go. And it was because she needed my energy. She needed my words. So the next day, so I was like in the flow. I was living in the moment. I was in the flow. I was doing what I need to be doing. I was talking to people. I was talking about sharing my knowledge and sharing my things that light me up and excite me. So then the next day, I only got like 4 hours of sleep that night because as a generator, I don't need a lot of sleep. Even though we went to bed at 5 a.m, I was like, great, I'm gonna sleep till like 11. I woke up at 9 and I couldn't go back to sleep. So my boyfriend, he's a projector, so he can sleep for 14 hours. So he just stayed in bed. And I went downstairs and I'd been feeling the call to do some research on cacao. Are you familiar with, cacao? It's like where chocolate from. A lot of the podcasts I've been listening to and things I've been reading, it has come up so much for me. And I needed to do more research on it. So I took the opportunity, some alone time, quiet time in the house, and I started doing some research. And I was reading about it and I was watching videos and I was just feeling it. And I had some dark chocolate in my freezer. So I went and I broke it up into little pieces. I'm like, this is the closest I can come to like doing my own little cacao ceremony with some dark chocolate. So I melted it in some hot water and I thanked the cacao. I thanked the cacao spirit and I drank it. And later, I just did other things too. I was reading and just vibing and pulling cards. I've been learning my tarot deck, inside and out. It's been a beautiful journey. And later that evening, a girlfriend of mine asked if I could watch her little girl for her. She has a 4-year-old little girl, and her husband wanted to go to an event together. So I thought about it and I talked to my boyfriend and he didn't care. So I was like, okay. She's like the coolest 4-year-old you'll ever meet. She is 4 going on 21 and is just awesome. So I'm like, of course I want to hang out with her. It's like hanging out with one of my girlfriends. So she came over and we hung out and we made popcorn and painted and watched some YouTube, Sesame Street. And when she came to drop her off, she brought me a little bag of like goodies. And there was some like satchels of like a bath mix that she made that had some clay and some Epsom salt and essential oil in it, and a jar of powdered cacao. I was like, oh, how perfect is that? She's like, yeah, I made this mix for you. I thought you might like it. I'm like, okay, cool. I literally just did research on doing cacao ceremony this morning. Cool. So the next morning, Monday morning, I did my first personal cacao ceremony with myself. And I did it up here in the White Room, and I said my blessings and called in my guides and my angels and did, said all my gratitude and my prayers, and I drank the cacao and I did some yoga and then, got dressed and started to get ready to go to my first client for the day. I greenhouse cleaning is my other business that the thing that pays my bills right now. I was getting ready, literally about to walk out the door, and I get a phone call from one of my clients saying that she wanted to refer me to one of her friends. I was like, all right, cool. Another client. Yeah, sure. Bring it on. So then I went to my cleaning, and this new client called me, and we set up a time to meet tomorrow. I'm like, cool, awesome. Like, I definitely had some room in my schedule. I could definitely, get a little more income. Sure, absolutely. And I know it's a high-end client, and it's going to be a beautiful house in a historic neighborhood, and I'm just super excited. I love old houses. So about an hour after that, you messaged me. And you were like, hey. Oh, and I think it was like the day before, 2 days before, I had commented on your video, like saying like the words that were coming out of your mouth, the way you were speaking, it was exactly like the way that I say my prayers. Like, I don't leave anybody out. I get super specific, like, dear guides, dear Archangel so-and-so, dear everybody, dear, like, I want this thank you for this, for helping me serve my highest good. And thank you for all the things that have yet to come that will continue to help me on my journey of healing the world. So that blah, 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 just like keep going. So I commented on that. And then you sent me this message saying, hey, I want you on my podcast. And I'm like, this is literally like, this wasn't even in the realm of, it wasn't even my scope yet that I would be a guest on a podcast that I listened to, that I found you through Emma Mumford's podcast. Like, I rabbit hole down podcasts when people interview people, then I go and find them and then listen to their podcast and the people they interview and so on and so forth. I got on my knees when I heard your message. I fell to my knees and I said, I just gave so much gratitude to the spirit of cacao for guiding me and opening my heart to receive all the things that the universe had to offer. And it was just this inkling that maybe I should think about cacao. And then it was brought to my door. I didn't even have to buy it. It was brought to me because I said yes to doing something nice for someone, watching their kid for them for 2 hours. She brought me cacao, which then opened my heart, and I just continued to receive more and more and more, and just the abundance was just flowing. And it was just, I'm still high from it. Obviously, it's like 2 days later, like, and the day after, and Tuesday was another amazing day. My client that I had wound up having the wrong dates, so then I found myself with a free day, and I got the rest of my Christmas shopping done, and I just had just a wonderful day. Like, the whole time I don't go to the mall ever, but once a year, and that's to get the specific presents that people want that I can't make. I went to the mall. I walked into that mall consciously projecting my, like, I love life attitude all the way around me, extended my aura out as far as it could go. And every single person that I walked by, instead of, like, when you walk by people, like in a mall or like randomly, sometimes they, like, you're walking towards them and then they, like, look down as you walk past. Like, what is that about? So weird. I don't do that. I'm walking past you and I'm like,
we totally always smile at each other then, because I'm the same way. Like, I'll interact with people that want to interact with me, and yeah, you're right. Most people will, like, look away, and it's not even like a chance of eye contact. But
it's like I challenge people to keep eye contact with me and then smile, because the people that do keep eye contact with me as I'm walking by, and I'm like, they will smile, but the people that don't want to smile, they look away. So
it's exactly what you described earlier, as far as you're bringing people up to right where you are, like to vibe with you, or they look away, or they don't want to. It's like one or the other. So it's exactly the same thing, just in a brief interaction. That's such a good point. I love that you made that, because like because you purposely go out, and I've said this on many videos, that when I leave to go out into the real world, but it really starts as soon as we're, like, conscious and awake. And during the day, like, we could start it, because you have stuff come to you, like you just described, online, which the synchronicities of what you described, and makes me feel really good knowing that a message from me made you feel that gratitude, allowed you to feel that gratitude even more, which is awesome. But at the same time, the message from you when you commented made me feel good, because I was excited that, anytime that you make any type of impact, or people can feel what you're saying. Because the reason that I speak the way you just described, like, because I want to make sure, I don't want to leave anyone out. I don't want to leave anything out. Like, I want to make sure that I'm flowing everything out of me that needs to come out in that time of me speaking. Like, yesterday, I ran outside to quickly speak because there was a beautiful cloud, like, outside. I was like, that cloud is awesome. Like, I want that to be the background of my thing.
I saw the moon.
Yeah. It was so beautiful. I was like, I have to, like, go film to that. And so, and I realized, like, on IGTV, like, it's easy to pick if you do the opening scene, like the opening, like, second, the way that you like it, and that can be your background image. Otherwise you have to go, like, find, like, the perfect little image. So I always, like, find an image, and then I'll smile and I'll start the video that way. And then I start to talk. Side note, that has nothing to do with it. But the reason that I talk the way that I talk is because I just want to make sure that everything that's needs to come out right now that I'm like inspired to share does. So I'm like sharing it like different, saying the same thing different ways, and this is like that's how I operate for sure. So yeah, and then inspired to reach out because I felt your vibe, and I love the synchronicities of life so much. Like that's really
And then we're both wearing the same color shirt.
which synchronicities are my favorite part of life by far. And it's always interesting, like again, because it's cool that you set the intention when you go out into the world to be super high vibe. Synchronicities are able to find us, at least ones that we like to see, because there's also synchronicities that we really don't want to receive in our lives as well. Like stuff that happens where it's like, can today get any worse? If you ever find yourself out there asking that question, then you're
going to.
Yeah, don't for sure. You're having lots of synchronicities happen that you don't really want to happen. And, you know, it's all coming in relation to our vibe, like our energy, our mood, where we are right now. So you can for sure change that. And yeah, if you, like Anna just said, if you notice yourself saying that, then it can and will get worse. So it's a good idea to switch it up a little bit, whatever you need to do. So yeah, but synchronicities are awesome. When we allow them to come and just be excited like a little kid to receive them, they'll find us when we're ready to receive them and continue to propel our life journey in the direction that we want to go.
Have you ever read the book, The Celestine Prophecy?
You're not the first person that's brought it up, but no, I have not read that book.
It's told like it's a novel, like it's an like a story about an adventure, but it has basically like a step-by-step instruction on how to become such a high vibrating being that you can leave this dimension, basically. You know, so or like how you've heard stories of monks in Tibet that meditate so much that they will disappear in front of your eyes. And it's not that they disappear, it's just that they're vibrating at a frequency that's so high your eyes can't perceive it, because we're in this 3D lower vibration, and we're all trying to get our vibration higher and higher and higher, and then you can eventually get so high that you bloop and you leave this dense plane, and you go to like essentially the fifth dimension or the causal plane. I also I have a reading list if anybody wants a reading list. There's lots of books that I recommend, especially for people that are just getting into being, you know, wanting to be spiritual, wanting to be more aware. There's a lot of books that get talked about a lot by popular, more modern authors, but there are older books that I recommend too, like The Celestine Prophecy. He wrote that, I think, it was by James Redfield. He's still alive. He has a Facebook page. He's written many other books succeeding The Celestine Prophecy, but that was the first one. And he wrote that, I think, in 1986, I believe. And then I always recommend the book How to Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Mm-hmm. If anyone's interested in learning the like actually how to do the work, how, like what that means and how to actually do it. You know, there's a lot of talk about the work, you know, doing the work on your mind, doing the work on yourself, your emotions, how to heal yourself from past traumas, whether they be emotional or physical or mental. She gives you, it's laid out in a book. She tells you how to do it, and she gives you exercises, like practical things like journaling exercises, mirror work, things you can do with a partner, just amazing things to start to rewire your brain to get you out of victimhood, to get you out of feeling trapped, and able to actually heal and rise above. So I always recommend that to people that are looking to heal, that are looking to get on a path of healing. And so those two books paired together are fantastic. And the first book that I ever read that really started me down this path was years ago. It's called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
Yeah. Read it.
Yeah, that That was like the first book that I read that really, it turned my head. It turned my head and my way of thinking, and I started to do the work on myself. I started to really be conscious of the words that I spoke and the way that I use them. There are certain phrases that I just don't like. I don't use them. I don't like the implication of them, and I don't like how vague they are. So much of the way we speak is purely context in a lot of modern language, through colloquialism and things like that, the true meaning of our words gets lost. And the universe hears our words, and the universe can be very literal. So if you say something like, I'm so hungry I could die, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like saying things like that, or like to say something so extreme like I'm starving. You're not literally starving. Or I spoke about in my video this morning on Facebook. I spoke about one of the things I want to leave behind is my language around money and scarcity. I've been working really hard on changing my language around money, and leaving phrases behind like I can't afford that. It doesn't align with the person I am becoming to have that mindset anymore. It served me at a time where I literally had $10. It doesn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a thought pattern that I thought it so often for so long that it just became a very well-traveled road in my brain. And I don't want to go down that road anymore. And I don't need to. I don't have to, and I don't need to. I'm living in abundance. I'm living more and more aligned each day. I experience a new awakening each day, and money does not need to be a concern. And so like changing my language around that and my feelings around scarcity and things like that. It's one of those things I'm leaving behind me in 2019 and not bringing it into 2020. So, but Louise Hay talks about a lot about that too. Louise Hay talks about money. She talks about everything. She is like the fairy godmother of self-transformation. She's amazing, and I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything, Anna, that you want the audience, because you said you've listened to some of the podcasts from me, and you know that the reason that I like to share anything that's coming out is because I know tomorrow's not promised to any of us. And if it impacts one person, something I share, or, millions, 10 years from now or 100 years from now, then I'm just happy that it's out there. So is there anything that you want the audience to know that whenever they hear this episode, it could potentially impact their life by them hearing it whenever they hear it? Is there anything that's like bursting out of you that you want to share with the audience? You've been doing it the whole time.
Right. Well, the things that come to mind are some of my favorite proverbs. First, and this kind of summarizes a lot of what we talked about, there's a Buddhist proverb or a Buddhist saying, you are not a single drop in the ocean, but rather the entire ocean encompassed in a single drop. The way I've phrased it differently is, you are a beautiful, unique snowflake, and we are all in the same storm together. I love proverbs, little sayings like that. Also like, worrying means you suffer twice. My boyfriend likes to say worrying is like paying a debt that you don't owe. You are the one that feels the feelings that you feel. So every emotion that we get to experience as humans on Earth, it's available to each of us in every moment. No matter what your circumstances are, you do have a choice of what you do with the circumstances inside your body. If someone does something that you don't like and you project hate at them, guess what? They don't actually feel the hate. You feel the hate that you're creating. And likewise, if you create joy and other people around you don't like it, then too bad for them. Because guess what? You are the one that gets to experience all that joy all to yourself. It really is what you make it. It really is. It absolutely is how you decide you want to say it. And that's not to say that something tragic happens and it makes you angry or frustrated or sad, that you shouldn't feel those things. Absolutely feel those things. Feel those emotions. But you don't need to let them consume you, and you don't need to let them dictate where you go in this life. Everything is happening for us so that we can transcend, and so that we can understand our own innate perfection. And one of my favorite things I took away from conversations with God is that the reason we're here is so that God, source, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, in its infinite perfection, needs to have imperfections so that it can know itself. And each of us inhabiting these completely, wholly imperfect bodies in this imperfect, impermanent, dense, heavy, sometimes difficult physical reality is what enables the part of us that is from perfection to know itself. That was what I took from that book. That I was in a dark place at that time. I was living in not a great place, with not the best person, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no money, I had no nothing, and reading that book reminded me. It reminded me. So I just hope everyone can find something that reminds them, like where they're from, what they really are.
If they just heard you say that, they just have. They have today, for sure, because they're listening to this right now. You just said so many beautiful things, and if you spaced on any of that, because you just said many different levels of different things, and starting with the proverb of we are not just a. Can you say the drop in the ocean quote one more time? I want to make sure I have that, because I use an analogy of us being an individual wave, but as a part of all that is. If the ocean is all that is represented, God, universe, all that is, then we're the wave, which means we're still a part of all that is. In our minds, we might think we're just this separate little wave here, but we're still a part of the greater all that is. So. But I love that. I love that quote. I've heard it before. And I'm going to start using that as a part of my analogy, because that describes it perfectly.
Yeah, it's you're not a single drop in the vast ocean, but rather the entire ocean embodied in a single drop.
I love that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I love that too. Another one I really like that's related to healing, because that's a big part of what I do, is trying to take medicine after a sickness has begun is like digging a well once you are already thirsty. I'm all about intention, I'm all about prevention as well. I don't get sick.
Me either.
I don't. Part of it, a big part of it, is high vibe. If you're up here, like you were talking about, they can measure vibrations of things. So the vibration of bacteria and viruses has been measured, and it vibrates at about 20, was it? No, 50, about 50 kilohertz. The average human operates between 60 and 65. But when you do something like smoke a cigarette, it lowers your vibration from 60 to 58. Now, much closer to the vibration of that bacteria or that virus. On the opposite side, when you say you diffuse an essential oil like rose oil, which operates at 588 hertz, it's the highest vibrating plant essence that is there, and you breathe that in and it's surrounding your environment, you can then go from being at 58, go to 68. Now you're vibrating so much higher than all that shit, that it's not even going to penetrate you. And they've measured people's vibrations after they have thought negative thoughts, and their vibration is lowered. They've measured their people's vibrations after they've given gratitude, and their vibration is higher. They sometimes just holding a cup of coffee lowers your vibration, and then sipping it lowers it even further. There are certain things that lower your vibration, certain foods that we can ingest, but also the thoughts we think, the things we do on a day-to-day basis. We're constantly in this wave, this flux, but you can eat nothing but Cheetos and drink Mountain Dew, but if you are constantly thinking and projecting high vibration thoughts and gratitude, you combat that. You kind of maybe might wind up finding an equilibrium between the two. But but usually, if you're the kind of person that is so high vibe in their thinking and all that, you're also going to put high vibrational things into your body because you understand this concept. Sometimes when people discredit holistic practices like homeopathy or essential oils or I don't know, all sorts of what do you call it? Just holistic things you can do. People say, like, if you put a piece of an onion next to your bedside, you won't get sick because the onion absorbs the bacteria and stuff in the air. Or burning sage kills bacteria and viruses in your house, and that you'll never get sick. And people will say, oh, that's not true, and blah, blah, blah. I burn sage all the time, and I get sick. Well, it's like, well, yeah, but burning sage isn't the only thing. But chances are, if you burn sage on a daily basis, you also do all these other things that are all high vibe, and it all cumulatively, it's a tough word, cumulatively, they all add up. Whereas if you're the kind of person that eats Cheetos and Mountain Dew all day, you probably do a lot of other low vibrational things too, and then you get sick often, and then you associate with people that are low vibe people that maybe are doing drugs, and then they die from them or things like that. And I'm not trying to, like, I could go down, I might have just put my foot in my mouth on that comment, but you see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to make an example. The one thing you do, how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's another Buddhist saying. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you do one thing high vibe, you do everything high vibe. So it's not that doing this one thing will keep you from ever getting sick, but it's that if you're the kind of person that lives that lifestyle, it's one thing on top of all these other things. If I cook with cast iron, I don't use microwaves. I don't own a microwave or a television. I don't have either of those things in my house. I burn sage every day. I drink lots of tea. I diffuse essential oils and work with essential oils. I practice Reiki. I have crystals. I've got 20 million crystals around me right now. This is my favorite one right now. It's awesome. It's a cumulative effect. So,
keep going.
I'm sorry.
Keep going. No, keep going. I don't want to stop you. Keep your flow going. I don't want to stop your flow.
So like people that are already living low vibe, and then I come into their life and I tell them, well, just start saying gratitude. They don't want to believe it. They can't believe that being grateful for the fact that you have access to clean drinking water will change their life. But if you can find just 3 things, I am grateful that I can breathe on my own. If you can't think of things you're grateful for, just take it back to the basics. I'm grateful I can breathe on my own. I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. I'm grateful that I have access to clean drinking water. I'm grateful that I have a fridge full of food. I'm grateful that I have a boyfriend who loves me. I'm grateful that I'm sitting here talking to you on this podcast. Once you start, you can just keep going and going and going. But the thing is, it's like the gratitude is not the only thing. It's a start, but it's not the only thing. But if you stick with it and you start to do it every day, even if it's just one thing, I'm thankful that I have access to clean drinking water. If you say that every day, eventually things will start you'll find more things to be grateful for. You will then start to have more positive words that come out of your mouth. You'll start to seek it out more if that's the place where you're in. And that's something that's a challenge that I've had as becoming a healer, or if you will, or just being someone who does healing modalities, is not everybody is ready to be healed. And it's tough. It's hard because it's like, I have the answers. I know what to do. Not everybody wants it. So a lot of people, again, it's the brain. It's all a lot of it's in the brain. It's just the brain. It's that road that your brain has traveled. Your brain wants to be efficient. Your brain does not like change. Your brain has created neural pathways and it wants to keep them. It's hard work to create new ones, and it's hard work to stop walking down the ones that you've been walking down, oftentimes since you were a child. One of the things Louise Hay talks about is most of the way that we view the world and we view ourselves was cemented in us by the time we were age 4 or 5. The things you do, the habits you have, the way you view yourself, especially, is cemented by the time you're age 5. And a lot of it comes from whatever your environment was when you were 5 years old. Did you have a positive, loving environment? Or were you in a tumultuous environment? It really does. It really does make a huge impact. And so that's something that I go into when I'm in a situation with someone and they're becoming argumentative, or we're having a miscommunication or something. I try to, if I can bring my awareness to that and not get caught up in my own ego, which does happen. You want to defend yourself. You want to argue against them because you know what's right or whatever. But instead, if you can take yourself out of the equation for a second and then picture that person as a 3-year-old little boy or girl and look at them and try to just imagine what life was like for them when they were 3 or 4 years old. I've had in the moment visions of people so often that are just so beautiful, where I know, there was one woman, she was talking, she said she was sorry so quickly one time when it was nothing to be sorry for. I said, why'd you say you were sorry? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I just do. And I immediately knew in the moment. I said, are you an only child? She said, yeah. I said, if you don't mind sharing, what was it like growing up? Were your parents together? She was like, yeah, they were together. I was like, did they fight a lot? Yeah. Do you feel like you constantly had to apologize for being in the way? As an only child, maybe she was an accident. Maybe, her parents' lives were turned completely upside down, and maybe there was resentment there. Maybe, her dad didn't want her mom to keep the child. Who knows? There's so many scenarios, but we're all victims of victims. It's this never-ending cycle. But when you come to a place of awareness and evolution where you can finally stop that cycle and look back and understand where things started, and then you can stop that cycle.
You inspired me to share something. You said so many good things right there, but I just want to make sure I piggyback on one thing that I love to be aware of and I love for people to know. And it's about, when we talk about frequency and our vibe and our energy, our mood, whatever you want to call it, it can only be in the moment. So when we're talking about measuring anything, you can only measure what's happening right now. And then at the same time, it's great to know that momentum is real, and whatever it is that we're focusing on in the moment. Because if you're going to measure frequency or vibration right now in the moment, we're doing something right now, we're focusing on something right now, we're thinking about something right now if we're awake. And so whatever that thing is that you're focusing on, if that's measuring a certain vibration as a result of that focus, and how you're thinking about that focus really is the true matter of it. Because we could both be thinking about an apple, and you could be like, I love apples so much, they taste so great, I love how green they are when they're ripe. And I could be like, I hate that I've seen a cartoon where worms were in apples, and now I think all apples have worms. We could think about the same subject, but totally different. And your vibe's going to be here when it comes to apples. And my vibe, the way that I think about apples in that moment, is going to be a little bit crappier if we were to measure it. And so just being aware of that and understanding momentum, if we notice ourselves feeling, really good momentum or really good about anything that we're focusing on, it's awesome as a human being to continue focusing on and to let that energy build even stronger, because that energy in the moments of life that surround that moment, you're going to be fun to be around. If you're with people, you're going to have really good ideas pop into your mind from that frequency. If you're at work or if you're taking any type of actions, your actions are going to be way more effective, your results are going to be better. And we're just talking about focusing on an app or whatever you're focusing on. But that vibration, that momentum is real. And it scientifically these days can be measured. Same is also true on the flip side. If we notice ourselves focusing on something that has us not feeling so good, because of the way that we're focusing on it, if we can't shift that, the way that we're looking at that thing, whether we're finding something like you mentioned to appreciate that I'm alive, I have clean water, that's gratitude is a really easy way for us to flip ourselves from something that we're focusing on that has us feeling crappy to, being able to feel a little bit better. And maybe you don't go from feeling crappy to bliss because of those gratitudes, but you can at least get out of the momentum, the negative momentum, where if you continue focusing on whatever that is that has you feeling crappy, in the way that you're focusing on it, you're going to feel more and more and more crappy. And then when we're talking about sickness and dis-ease, lack of ease, every second that we're alive, our body is producing a few million brand new cells. And so if you're in the moment, vibration is one of stress, dis-ease, that's the cells can only be a match to that. So not a big deal if you're stressed for a second or minute or even an hour, or maybe even a full day. You probably have a headache by the end of the day, or you might even start to feel some symptoms of illness or disease if you stay stressed, or you're in a really rough, heavy vibration for a full day. Do that for a few days, you 100% will get sick. And do that over a consistent period of time, over years, that's where chronic illnesses start coming into play. It's really interesting as human beings, by the time we turn 30, I'm sure you've heard this, Anna, but just sharing for the audience, by the time we turn 30, over about 90% of our thoughts are now habitual. And you mentioned from childhood it being ingrained in, how we kind of are. This has been it builds up over time. And as human beings, we think almost 70,000 thoughts per day. So imagine if 90% of those were worried or frustrated or anxious or any of the lower frequencies that could be measured. It's not a coincidence that you're getting sick all the time. So for me, because I'm just aware of these things, I'm human, I'm not perfect, but I don't allow myself to think frustrated or worried or anxious thoughts past, like, if I catch myself thinking them, I have no problem saying, stop it, Noah. And I'll either find something about that subject to appreciate, option one, or think about any of the other trillion subjects on the planet that I could put my attention on, to where now my momentum can start returning back to where I like it to be, which is at least at peace, at content, not trying to figure out all the answers of life right here in this moment, just being okay with being alive, being appreciative of being able to, do these podcasts and anything that I want to think about. There's so many subjects that we can find to appreciate. And just from that, even if I was to feel a symptom, which there's been times where I've had, some challenging days over the years. I haven't been sick in over 7 years when I became aware of all this stuff. It's just because I'm aware of what my cells and what my body is doing. And so even if I would start to sense a symptom, I would just remind myself that my natural state is health. My body wants to be healthy, and it's me, the resistance that I'm giving is what's causing me to feel this way. And then two, every second from here going forward, my body's going to produce a few million new cells. And those now are wellness cells. Like, I'm excited that my body is returning moment by moment to its natural state of health. And if I need to sleep, because it's been a really rough day and I'm tired, then I'm honoring that. There's a reason that doctors tell people to go get lots of rest, because when you're sleeping, you're not having this negative vibration, this momentum that's having your cells make you even more sick. When people are worried about a diagnosis, like, oh my gosh, like, this sucks. Like, if it's a disease, if they're worried about that, then a lot of times that progresses it even faster, because they're so worried about now dying and all these things, that those few million new cells that your body is producing are now hyper moving towards that outcome that you're worried about. So
yeah, that proverb that I just said was, worrying means you suffer twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you just everything you just said is in Louise Hay's book. If you haven't read it, you should go get a copy. It's called You Can Heal Your Life.
I've heard it before. I know what it says for sure.
Check it out. It's freaking awesome. It's not going to tell you anything you don't already know, but it's going to put it into words that are so succinct and perfect for you to convey to anyone else, or even just like, I just bought 3 copies to give to people for Christmas because it's
awesome gift.
It's a great gift. It's perfect. And even if they don't read it right away, it's the sort of thing, like, it's that sort of book that, like, it will call to you when you're ready. It will call you. It will sit on your bookshelf, and all of a sudden one day you'll walk by and it will just say, "Psst, hey, I have what you need." And you can literally open it to any page and it has exactly the words you need to hear.
Yeah, somebody popped into my mind that as soon as you said that, and the way you described it was awesome. Like, if the Louise Hayes Foundation out there needs someone to promote that book, I would contact Anna, because the way that she promoted it was awesome. Like the picture that you painted for me, I was like, immediately someone popped into my head, and not from a lack thing, like they need this, nothing like that, but because I'm so impressed by this person that they're seeking out just information to help their life evolve. Like they're seeking it out. Like they'll send me stuff, and like they want to know. Like I've had conversations with them, and they're like just so open. And so the way you described that, I was like, ooh. And then you said the mirror gazing. Like they messaged me a few weeks ago and said, "Oh my gosh, have you ever heard of mirror gazing?" You know. And so I was like, I have to send them this book recommendation for sure. I rarely recommend a book that I haven't personally read yet, but this one is one that I have a lot of respect for Louise Hayes and her work, and I'm very knowledgeable of it. And what you said as far as the things that I'm saying being in the book was interesting about life, and what we've talked about a lot here in this conversation, because I'm just aware of frequency. And you just mentioned a subject, which health for me is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, because I'm so appreciative to be aware of the things that I just shared, because who wouldn't want to just not get sick? Just to be able to just live this life of just health. And that's how I feel like all of us can. I know all of us can live that way. And if you're not feeling healthy out there right now, don't beat yourself up for it, because you can't beat yourself up and be sad about it and be able to be that version of health that you want at the same time. So it is what it is. Now you're having new awarenesses that will come up. Maybe you'll be inspired to do some more, research or read some books about it, whatever you want. Heal your life. That's a great start. If you're listening to this podcast, that's a really great place to start. That's a synchronicity for sure that you just shared. But when I'm in this frequency and I'm like excited to share like all the information that flows out, it's just fun to see and to hear what we're inspired to say and what we're inspired to do. And we can trust that. It's my biggest message to anybody listening to this episode from me, because Anna shares so many awesome things, and I'm so appreciative for you that you shared all of it. What I'm most inspired to share with anybody that's listening to this right now is you can trust when you're feeling good. If you have a smile on your face, you have an energy about you, even if you're at a content or a peace, and if you take it up from there where you're at a happy or a joyful or a blissful or euphoric, I mean, my goodness, like for sure, go out and live life to the fullest in all of these frequencies. Say whatever, make those phone calls that maybe you've been scared to make in the past. Like maybe you have family members or coworkers or friends or whoever that you want to have a conversation with. When you know that you're in a really awesome vibe, like hit the dial as fast as you can and have that conversation from there, and don't go in thinking about, what should I say or should I not? That now your vibration just dropped. So just enjoy being in that frequency and letting it flow out of you. The more light that flows out of us from this frequency, the more value that we're adding to humanity, the more value that we're adding to ourselves. We're very impactful on the world, and everybody that's around us is uplifted by that light. So shine your light is my message for anybody out there listening. I was inspired to just say that.
Yeah, and I'm still figuring out what exactly my message is, because like I said, we could talk for literally just days straight. If somebody just brought us snacks, we could do this for days. So I have a hard time sometimes just honing down one thing. Like, what is my one message? What is my one thing, my purpose for the world? But I don't know
if I think your bet is whatever you're inspired to share in that moment, because you have all of these things that are valuable that you become aware of for you, and it will be valuable for others to become aware of it for them. And and there's going to be moments where you're inspired to share about tarot, or be moments where you're inspired to share about Reiki, there's moments where you're inspired to share about the inspired painting that you're talking about, is anything. And then you're wrapping in all of these life lessons and universal truths are what you're sharing. These are the people that I choose to have these conversations with, people that are already sharing universal truths, that just because we're saying in a different way, using different analogies, different stories, different life experiences mainly, to share, it's still truth. We know it's truth when we can feel it. So yeah, maybe there might be, as time goes for you, something specifically that you talk about more than anything else because you're just so passionate about it, so excited about it. And at the same time, you have so many valuable things to share about all of these different things, because your life experience combined with connecting to that frequency, call it God, universe, love, all that is, spirit, whatever you want to call it. For any of us out there, if we're connected to that energy, and then we combine our life experiences with that, if we share that, that's going to be powerful, regardless of what the subject is. It could be quilts, like we talked about earlier. It could be, anything, technology. It could be relationships, health, finance. Combine life experience with that energy, call it God, universe, love, abundance, whatever you want to call it, and share it. It's going to be powerful. And, as time goes and we evolve, there might be something that you share more than anything else, because I heard a while back from Reverend Michael Beckwith, who has Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. And he said that our purpose here on this earth, a lot of times, as far as what we feel like we're called to do, is something in the world that when we see it, we just want to really we want to put energy towards that to see it evolve, from where that is. And for some of you out there, it might be what you see in the environment. Maybe you want environmental change, or maybe you want clean drinking water, like you mentioned a few times, or, maybe it's whatever. For me, it's always been, once I became aware of these things, because I had a mentor that shared with me The Science of Getting Rich from Wallace Wattles, which was the first law of attraction book that I had ever read, first book by choice, period, that I had read, that wasn't told to me to read, while I was in school. And it just immediately was my first introduction to law of attraction. And from that point on, it's been a constant evolving and attracting new information. Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, came when I was in a really rough spot, about 10 years ago. And that helped me in my journey. And there's just been attracting more and more to the journey. And so when we're ready to receive any of these things that, we attract into our lives, like, we'll receive it. And then we can go out there and we can continue our journey, but not having to worry about, how it's going to come, when it's going to come, who it's going to come from, all those details. We'll leave that to the synchronicities. And I mean, for me, it's just a matter of wanting to share something that if it impacts anybody listening, then I'm happy. And if they tell me that it impacts them, I'm even more happy, because it's just awesome. Like, I genuinely root for people to know the things that we know. I was just running my mouth just there because I forgot what my point was when I started talking about Beckwith and the purpose. But for me, I wanted to share mine. That was the point. I forgot it. And so I was just like, here's a little side note to a side note. When we lose our train of thought, if we just stay in the frequency that we were in when we received the thought will always come back. We start worrying about, like, oh crap, I just lost that thought. That's a totally different frequency than where the thought came from. So you can't receive it until you return back to just having fun or wanting to impact or inspire, which is where the thought came from. So side note, that's why I kept running my mouth and just rambling about high vibe stuff, because then the thought just found me again. And so my point as far as all this is, what I feel like what drives me the most and what I see in the world that I want to change, I just want everybody to know that they can all be, do, and have anything, that there's no special breed of humans, that the same energy flows to and through and is who we all truly are. And we're either connected with it and can feel it in the moment, or not. We're never disconnected from it, but sometimes we can't feel it, because you can't feel it when you're depressed or angry or rageful or, sad. It's just, you're not a match to it. And it's all good. You'll return back to love, and once you are, then you can feel it again, and then you can go enjoy life. But I just want everybody out there listening, and anybody that I ever meet and have a conversation with, that when you see someone that's living in joy, that's you. I mean, there's not a special breed of human. They weren't born this way to only be that. I mean, they have times where they've had challenges too. So just know it for you. And once people are aware of that for them, then it becomes a question of, what do I feel like, because of my life experience, what do I feel most excited to do in this life? And then going out there and actually knowing that you can do it. And that's how the world will continue to evolve, and has always evolved. I always say, funny analogy, the reason that I'm sitting in this chair right now is because sometime over the history of life, someone got tired of standing or sitting on the ground. They're like, we need an object that can allow us to sit without having to sit on the ground. And then they didn't know how it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, what materials to use. But then they just took the first step, and they're like, we're inspired to make these objects. And you're like, well, it doesn't really, I always fall when there's only like 2 legs. So maybe let's add a third leg. And they're like, ooh, we have a stool now. This works. What if we added a 4th leg? We'd probably get more comfortable, probably get lower to the ground. And then it just evolved over time. And now we all have chairs. And that's how everything that we see physically manifested has happened, from the beginning of time. And it will always happen with everybody out there that wants to create anything. It's going to start with being inspired because of life experience. Like, life doesn't have this right now. I want to create it. And then you don't have to know all the details of how, what, when, where, who. Just take the first step, be excited, enjoy the moment, and then let it evolve as the synchronicities come and flow enough energy towards anything, whether it's something that you want or something that you don't want, it will manifest. So that's
the conundrum. That's the conundrum of living in a past focused mentality, or I guess what I would call depression. That's what depression is being caught in the past. Is that nothing that exists was created from something from the past. You see what I'm saying? Everything that exists was created out of a thought that was in the present moment, creating for the future. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's just a
true statement.
Yeah. Like the iPhone didn't come from a rock that a caveman hit, but it's a progression of things being added on. Like you said, the two legs, and then 3 legs, and then 4 legs, and now there's a chair. And then that chair, then somebody put wheels on it, and then somebody put hydraulic lift in it, and now you've got this super, and then ergonomic back support. Now you've got this like incredibly $300 office chair. But likewise, like the iPhone didn't come, was not imagined from a pen and paper, but it just came from, yes, taking the experiences of the past, but adding them to create something new in the future. You can't reinvent the wheel. You can just paint it pretty colors and take it somewhere fun.
Absolutely. That's the benefit of all of our past life experiences, not past life, but just the experiences that we've had in the past. That's the benefit of it, is because without them, we wouldn't have the clarity of, I want to go create this iPhone. They probably got the carrier pigeons probably got tired of carrying all the messages around the world, and that evolved to the next thing and to the next thing. And before you know it, we're sitting here with iPhones, and 10 years from now, iPhone will be a dinosaur. We'll be like, what is this iPhone thing? Like, we'll have the phone probably just popping out of our thoughts. We just think let me jump on this live stream with Anna, and we'll just be able to do it without even the hardware of the computer. Who knows? This has been such an awesome conversation, Anna, and thank you guys out there for tuning in to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. And definitely share this episode with anybody that popped into your mind that you're inspired to share it with. Not a coincidence at all. And continue to support the podcast in every way that you have. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, rate it, review it, do all of those things, which helps it get in front of more people and help spread this light to more people around the world. And really excited to keep having awesome conversations with you guys, with awesome humans like Anna, and just appreciate you all, sending tons of positive vibes. Anna, thank you again for sharing your time with us. You're awesome. It's been super fun talking to you, and excited to see where the future leads you as things evolve for you in all areas of life. And everybody out there, make sure you connect with Anna on social media. You'll see all of her stuff here in the description, because regardless of where she chooses to put her attention, we know that she's going to bring her awesome energy with her, and it's going to evolve beautifully. And will really be fun to see what you choose to do and participate in any way that all of us are inspired to participate. So thank you, and I look forward to collaborating with you more in any way that we're inspired to in the future, for sure.
Definitely. Thank you, Noel. Purple power.
Love it. It's purely synchronicity. We didn't plan this out. And you guys are seeing the theme probably on these last 5 episodes or so. I'm wearing the same color, which I'm curious to see where that goes. And to be honest, my hair was a little wet today, so I was like, I'm gonna choose the purple, because if I have any type of beads of sweat or anything drip, it won't show as easily. And it was like a random decision making, and I was just drawn to it. So the synchronicities of life. Love it. Well, sending positive vibes to all you guys out there. We will talk with you soon. Have an amazing day whenever you are seeing this, hearing this, listening to this. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Awesome.